The Welsh Rugby Union deserves plaudits for introducing a national dual contract system which has resulted in Jonathan Davies, Leigh Halfpenny, Dan Lydiate and Bradley Davies returning to Wales. But it missed a gilt-edged opportunity to draft a player when it allowed points machine Halfpenny to join the Scarlets. The governing body seemed to hold most of the cards, with serious interest in the fullback, a wing seemingly non-existent from clubs in France and England following his departure from Toulon. Halfpenny thought he had a lucrative deal to remain in the south of France, but the three-time European Cup kings withdrew the option of another year after he chose to go with the Lions to New Zealand rather than play in the latter end of the French top 14. Leigh Halfpenny, after signing a national dual contract with the Welsh Rugby Union and Scarlets, so the 28-year-old was left scrambling for a contract elsewhere, and it was the WRU who came to his rescue, with Halfpenny's former employer Cardiff Blues and the Scarlets bidding to be their partners. Halfpenny understandably plumped for the Scarlets, with the West Wales region being Guinness Pro 12 champions rather than return to the Arms Park. When the NDC system was introduced 3 years ago after the Blues, Dragons, Ospreys and Scarlets signed a new rugby services agreement with the WRU, it was stated a player's former region would have preference should he return from exile, unless there were special circumstances. However, it's been blown out of the water by Lydiate, Bradley Davies and Halfpenny. Dan Lydiate left and Bradley Davies back row forward. Lydiate signed for the Ospreys rather than rejoining the Dragons after being let go early by French club Racing Metro, citing family reasons, and lock Bradley Davies followed him to the Liberty Stadium from Aviva Premiership posts despite the Blues wanting him back. And it seems player power is alive and well, with Halfpenny being allowed by the WRU to sign for the Scarlets. Don't get me wrong, I fully understand why the goal-kicking maestro would elect for Parkway Scarlets, but is his move there in the best interests of Welsh rugby? As Blues coach Danny Wilson pointed out yesterday, the danger of the current NDC system is the strong get stronger and the weak get weaker. Cardiff Blues head coach Danny Wilson amid Hugh Evans' picture agency The Ospreys, and you have to applaud their development program, have 8 players on NDCs, 6 of them home-produced, and the Scarlets 4 with just 4 in East Wales, 2 apiece at the Blues and Dragons. The Scarlets thrived last season after switching creative New Zealander Johnny McNichol, who became the catalyst for their dazzling brand of counter-attacking play, to fullback and shifting Liam Williams to the wing. So it can be argued fullback Halfpenny should have been placed elsewhere, either at the Blues or the Dragons, although the WRU's ownership of the latter would have prompted claims in some quarters of preferential treatment. There's also the other issue that the Ospreys are benefiting hugely financially, with the WRU paying 60% of the wage bill of their 8 players on dual contracts, which a leading rugby administrator estimated could be worth about £1 million to them. Great for the Ospreys, and I'm not knocking them, but I believe a draft system would improve the regional game in Wales, bring on promising players quicker and, ultimately, lead to more strength and depth and a stronger Wales squad. Imagine the impact Halfpenny, working with Gavin Henson, would have on the likes of Tyler Morgan, Ashton Hewitt and Hallam Amos at the Dragons. Wales have just secured a famous rugby victory against England. Widen the debate further and you find other examples of players who, in my opinion, should be regular starters in regional rugby rather than clicking their heels on the bench or sitting in the crowd. Think Scarlets and hookers Ken Owens, Ryan Elias and Amir Phillips, scrum halves Gareth and Aled Davies, and Jonathan Evans, particularly when the best number 9 at the Dragons is a South African in Sarel Pretorius. Jonathan Davies, Scott Williams, Gareth Davies, John Barkley and Liam Williams celebrate winning the Guinness Pro 12 image. Hugh Evans picture agency. Blues have Lions captain Sam Warburton, fellow international Josh Navidi and Ellis Jenkins all competing for the number 7 jersey. And what's the point of international outsider halves Dan Biggar, Sam Davies and James Hook all being at the Ospreys? A strong leader like Biggar would turn around the Dragons virtually overnight, while 2013 World Under-20 Player of the Year Davies' development has been stunted by his decision to stay at the Liberty rather than establish himself as the man elsewhere. Ospreys are also loaded with locks and back row talent in a very strong squad. New Zealand, who happen to be back-to-back world champions, have operated a central contract and draft system with success for years, moving hot prospects to franchises where they would get plenty of opportunities to start. That policy has improved and strengthened their rugby, with all of their franchises, Crusaders, Hurricanes, Highlanders, Chiefs and the Auckland-based Blues, having been Super Rugby champions. New Zealand's teams have lifted it during 16 of its 23 tournaments, 6 of the last 7. Drafting may not, in the short term, lead to a Welsh sides being crowned European kings for the first time, but, further down the line, it could have a positive impact. Surely, it's worth a punt.